Yeah, hour and a half, you know. Right.
Hello.
Hi, Jim.
Hi. Oh, great background, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Don't we
Well,
wish?
Yeah, no kidding.
we didn't say anything about working from your winter home.
Yeah. So, just so you know, Rebecca, I talked to Mike Nee today
Oh, good. Okay.
because I got a call from one of the customers on the system that their water had like it was cloudy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I saw a sample of the water and it looks like almost like a very fine sand in it.
Oh, no kidding.
So I told Mike this, and he's going to check it out tomorrow.
Okay.
How would you get that in one house? That's the only complaint?
I don't know. That was she called me because she knows that I'm part of the water commission. So,
It could be her person, like the pipes that connect to the meter. I mean, the water, right? Because if it's only one complaint from one person.
now this is over on Baker Avenue.
Okay. Because I have most of the calls being directed to Pennachuck, and then Pennachuck informs me. That way, no water customer goes unserved, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
But I did hook up a water yesterday to an address on East Commercial, 36 East Commercial yesterday, hooked onto water. I guess the pump in there well failed and they were without water, so they paid yesterday for the full hookup, and Brundage was going to go over and hook it up, hopefully by the end of this week.
What was the address again?
36 East Commercial.
I've got one for you too, Rebecca.
Okay.
On commercial, 139.
Yeah.
130. You have 135 and 140.
Yes, and actually 135 and 140, 139 or 140 just connected Monday.
Okay, because 140 is the whole is the inn.
Oh, no kidding. The Holden Inn.
130 and 39 are that big yellow house and the house behind it.
Okay. Yep.
Mailboxes.
That's on the creek side of commercial.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're connected as well. They just, I mean, I guess they had paid for it a long time ago. They're on the deferred payment plan, but they actually connected to water last week.
This is 135 and 139?
Yep, because I had talked to Russ about it, and actually John, to see, because they're on the same property, so they didn't know if they need, because there was only one curb stop for that property, so they weren't sure if they needed to have another one, and they didn't, because it's the same it's like two little units on the same property.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they didn't need a new curb stop.
There's a full-size house and then like a smaller house behind in the back.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Cottage. Yeah, so
Well, they're both now on town water.
good. And the whole the inn is on water too.
That's
The whole-
correct.
They're finished hooked up.
I think
They're
Kurt
hooked up.
Oh, there's Kurt.
Are you there?
I think he's saying that Kurt just joined us.
I see his name.
Hey, Kurt.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I like your virtual background. That's fabulous.
Thank you very much.
I see. Okay, so I guess Russell is on with us as well now.
Yep.
I don't know if Neil was able to call in or not.
I did give him directions.
I know you did. Thank you. you know, I don't know what his cell number is, so. And Russ is calling in.
I actually have Neil's cell phone.
Oh, you do?
I
Hello?
do.
Hey, Russ. I think that, yeah, I think she can
I
unmute you.
unmuted you. There you go, Russ.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm gonna hang,
Thank you.
okay.
How we doing? How's
Good, how are
everybody doing?
you?
Good, good, good.
So, all right, well, we have a quorum, and it is just at 6, so I would say we can go ahead. I have not heard anything from Catherine. I thought Neil was gonna try to phone in, but
I do have Neil's cell phone. I could try calling him.
what is it?
It's 508 237 5469.
No, he's not on, okay.
If you give him that one, that 300 something number, he can dial in directly.
Yep.
Okay. And I see that Arlene Esty is on as well, but she must be with the recycling committee.
Yes, I think so.
No. That would be Dwight Estee with the Historical Society.
Okay. So that is actually our first item on the agenda, Dwight. So just to let you know what I spoke with Justin in the building department today, and he confirmed in the plans that they had that indeed the requirement for that building there was for a 6-inch main that would need to be brought in from the street. So obviously that would have to be the main water main there, which is a 12-inch main along along Main Street, would have to be tapped, and a 6-inch main would have to be brought into the building from the main, which runs right there along that side of the street.
Yeah, I had anticipated that. I knew that that's what they were looking for originally. Our whole purpose in contacting your department, your board, was for advice. You've been involved in many of these and will be involved in it once in our life. So
Right.
any guidance that you could give us would be appreciated.
I think we would be recommending that you get a bid for what it's going to take to bring it into the building.
And I think you had met with John Connors and recommended somebody that we contact.
Rebecca has a list of contractors who can do that work. And in fact, if it's tapping the main on the street, which I believe it's going to require, that our initial recommendation would be Robert B. Auer.
Is that tapping on the 12, Jim?
That's tapping into the 12-inch main.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend Robert Hour.
Yeah.
Oh, that's helpful.
Okay. So that would be the next step. Would be I believe there are plans. The way that, from what I understood from Justin, that there are plans placed already on this, and they determined the size of the diameter of that based on the square footage in the building and the number of floors. So, and that's how they came up with the 6-inch main.
Okay. We wanted that confirmed as well.
I think, well, I guess it would be the building department, and I'm not sure that the fire chief would have anything that he would be weighing in on the actual size of it, although I know that he was made aware of that requirement.
Okay. So I think that covers what we had to discuss.
Yes, yep. And I mean, you just let us know what you can always come back to us and let us know what your schedule would be to do this work. Because obviously, if it's tapping into the main, on Main Street there, the sooner the better before the season, because that will require us to shut down Main Street or a section of it there when they actually tap into the 12-inch.
He should be, Jim, he should be able to do a live tap. I'll
They
talk to
should?
Robert. Yeah. Yep. They should be able to.
Really?
I'll double check with them though. Yeah.
For a
Yep.
6-inch.
Tap on a 12-inch main.
I'll double
not
check
gonna-
with them.
Okay.
What's that?
With a 6-inch tap on a 12-inch main, you're not going to need a T?
No, you can do a saddle and a tap. I'll talk to them. No, I
Oh,
don't think so. Depends on how far away it is. I'll look at it.
I'll
Look at the print.
It's within a few feet of. It's right there on that side of Main Street, the building.
I will definitely check with Abby.
Ross, you said you'll check with him?
Yep, I'll check with Robert Hour. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I guess then I'm not sure who would be contacting them from the Historical Society.
John Connors will.
John Wood? Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is Eric Winslow. Can I ask a question? I'm with the Historical Committee. Just, we need to put a deposit down to start this process, and I wasn't clear what kind of deposit we would be required to fill out with the application.
Well, I think you already have water to the building, correct?
No, we have just a local well. There is I think a 2-inch stub that comes into our property, but it wasn't the intention to hook that up right away. So the hookup for the 6-inch fire suppression would be the only town water we'd be using at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that probably, the Board of Water Commissioners would want to discuss at an upcoming meeting. Would be how we would manage that. Because obviously, it's going to be a substantial expense for you to bring that water main to the building.
Yes, and we're trying to get a handle on what the expense is going to be. So as soon as possible, it would be nice to have a set of specifications from the town that we could present to an installer so we can budget for that.
Eric, weren't there plans already drawn up?
There were some specifications. I believe all it said was this 6-inch line coming at a CL52 6-inch ductile pipe. So there is a drawing showing where that comes into the building, and then it just said, I guess there would be a valve inside the building as a shutoff. In the immediate future, we don't plan to do any interior work until we're further moved on with our second phase of our building project.
Right.
So Go ahead.
I was going to suggest that um, you could confirm with the building inspector if they need any additional specifications or drawings or anything, or if what they have already on file is adequate for, for the,
Okay.
because that, none of that really would be going through the water commissioners. We would just, we would just authorize the hookup, but the actual design and the approval on the work would run through the building department.
Okay, and do you know what level design we need? I've talked to a couple people, David Little out of Ryder and Wilcox, and he said that he didn't think that we necessarily need too much in terms of design, that the installer would just get approval for some specifications with the Water Commission.
Yeah, I would recommend that that somebody have a discussion with the building inspector on that.
Okay.
Because when I spoke with him today, he led me to believe he already has the file.
Yes, I think there was something developed with the architect that is no longer employed with us. So there is something there. Whether that's still valid or not, I'm not sure, but it probably is.
Yeah. But I said that would be your next step, would be to talk with them to find out what they need, because it's really the approval for the actual work, the design and the work would be through the building department.
Okay, and would they establish what kind of deposit we need to file with the application?
That would obviously the actual installation of the main from the street to the building would be your responsibility, the cost of that, and that would be, you'd have to work that out with Robert B. Power, so someone contact them to get a bid from them for the work.
Okay, I've also talked to John Martin out of Orleans. Okay.
So Jim, can I just ask a question? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So Eric or Dwight, I just want to be clear what your intentions are. It sounds like you're just using this for fire suppression, and you've already paid for a 2-inch connection.
No, they have a 2-inch stub. They just have a curb stop.
Okay, just a stub.
Right.
And then this would be the primary use is just for fire suppression, but you don't expect to use the water other than that?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm wondering if what's going on in my head is it seems like it's an enormous expense for, backup fire suppression. And I'm wondering if you might be eligible for CPC funds or some other way of paying for it as well.
Well, some of this would hopefully come out of our CPA funds. We hope to get approval for at town meeting, and maybe other ways we can get money. I'm not sure, but the hope is. Actually, another question is: once we have this hooked up, if we are not using water, who do we find out what our annual water bill will be, or that sort of information?
That would be through the water commission.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was asking the question, because as Jim alluded, we don't really have a policy in place yet for your particular situation. So I think it's something that we'd want to take under consideration.
Someone have a ball game on or something in the background?
I thought that was you, Tom.
I've got the opera on.
All right. Eric, do you have any other questions now?
No, it sounds like we need to go to the building department and then is the water commissioners, how are they having open meetings that we can attend or schedule on, or?
Yes. So I think first to find out is what the building department needs from you in terms of any additional uh, drawings or specifications on this. And secondly would be that when Russ gets back to us about, after he speaks with Robert B. Auer about how he would manage tapping this main. Or if it is, a simple thing of just a hot tap on it, rather than actually having to open it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you.
Anything more on the Wellfleet Historical Society?
It's Dwight Estee, nothing from me.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dwight. So if there isn't, I would like to move on to the next item on our agenda. Actually, I'd like to move to the issues that Russ is on the line for with us. So I don't know that there's anyone on with us from the recycling committee.
I don't think so.
No.
Nope. I
Okay.
think Catherine is on. I'm going to try and unmute this 443 number.
Okay.
That might be Catherine.
Yeah, it is. It
Okay,
is.
you're all set.
Great.
Yeah, I'm the 443.
Okay.
All right.
And who's the 508?
That's Tom.
Oh, Tom's in twice. Okay.
Yep.
That down, I think. Can I?
Yeah.
I can at least hide it.
No, you're fine.
It's okay.
If you don't mind looking at a picture of the telephone.
Sometimes you get feedback if you're on both with the phone and the computer, but your
But
audio.
I'm not.
Okay.
Okay. So Russ, thank you for sending over the information on the SCADA system from Cape Water Resources.
Okay, you should be able to have that up on your screen right now. Do you see it?
Oh, look at that.
And
I have,
Magic.
Magic.
I have it up on my other screen, so I'm good.
I'll just scroll down so you guys can see everything.
Yeah.
So basically what I did was I looked at the two proposals, and I did talk to Jim about this when I met him down there with the contractor to do that main. And I don't see putting a lot of money into Coles Neck right now. The Coles Neck pump station is old. It's needs work, and dropping $20,000 worth of controls in it, I don't think is in the best interest of the town. It operates fine right now the way it is. There are a few little things that it could have, but I think that's more of a project that should be a couple years out to kind of rehab that building. And it's not used as much as it used to be. So
Yeah.
I think if there's money to spend, I think we should spend it on upgrading the Boy Scout camp, because that's your main supply. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Russ. I mean,
Yes.
as you know, where the town is considering building affordable housing up by the school, and that our intent was to seek state funding for upgrading the water main there from the Old Tech site from Gristmill Way down and ideally bringing it down Route 6 and in on Briar Lane. And we had a couple of estimates from environmental
Partners. Yeah.
Yep, I saw those. Yep.
So the thinking there was that if we couldn't use any of that money for meeting the DEP requirements for upgrades to the system. That's the hope that we would be able to do that in conjunction with this project.
Yeah, the one thing I saw on there for Coles Neck, I'm going to argue with her about anyways. It's DEP, because I actually talked to someone else from DEP, and it's not something that she should have pushed anyways.
Okay.
I do agree. I do agree the controls need to be upgraded, but I'm trying to get permission from DEP to use the Coles Neck well site as a backup emergency source
Right.
so that we don't, because we don't run it very often anyways. And we run it enough to keep the water, you know, the water quality good. But it's not a big user because you can't push water down that little main to get it to the tank anyways. So it's really used as a backup.
Yeah.
Trying to get them to kind of classify it as an emergency backup until then we can, you know, look at, let's upgrade that building a little bit so that if you do add new controls to it in a new computer, nothing happens to it with the, you know, with the environment inside that building. You know what I mean?
But
I don't
we
want you to
still,
spend 25, go ahead.
sorry, there's still the issue that we thought, was my understanding, that in
Mhm.
order to comply with DEP requirements, we have to have a secondary water source that
You
has.
do. It's gonna run. It'll run automatically.
But
It's just
it
not
has-
gonna have the bells and whistles and not
Right. But
as
it- to have
robust. How's that?
It has to have the hydraulic capacity that, that is, that, in the event that the Boy Scout camp wells are offline for whatever reason, that we have
But
to
you
be,
won't, yeah, yep.
we have
But you
to be-
won't get that unless the main's replaced. So you'll get enough. We could run the system off that right now because of the number of customers.
Right.
But if everything was a full build out, you probably couldn't. But
But
upgrading the water main is gonna do that. Go ahead.
That's the thing. That's what we're asking. When the grant period opens for Mass Works, we're going to be asking for, if we get the full amount with the 3.8 million, for upgrading that water main from the Gristmill Way site, and
Yep.
to bring it down Route 6 and in on Briar Lane and connect at Main Street. So that wouldn't do anything to the Coles Neck water main. It would still remain in place.
But
And
it would allow us to bring water from Coles Neck Pump Station to the tank down a new main.
down a new main,
Correct?
and at
Yeah.
sufficient capacity or hydraulic capacity to meet the requirements, overall requirements of the system.
All right, let me look into that a little bit more, Jim. But again, if DEP is requiring any upgrades, I'd rather see you guys, instead of spending $60,000, at least get Boy Scout camp to where they want it, and then we'll look at Coles Neck at a different time. You know what I mean?
Got it, I hear.
Well, will the new system that you're referring to, will that just be a hookup to the Coles Neck system at that time? Or are we gonna have to go into this all over again and have another system? Like right now, does our computer system run all the pumps? Does it alternate the pumps so there's usage? Who schedules all of that? Is that run by the computer?
It's all through the SCADA system. What they're looking for right now, the radios and stuff are older, and they're not even made anymore. So we want to get Boy Scout camp upgraded, but then we could use parts from the Boy Scout camp as spare parts for Coles Neck for right now.
So we're not talking much about the control system. It's more about the communication system is where our weakness is, please?
Correct.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, if in fact, I mean, we do apply for the Mass Works grant and we include in that the work to be done on the main, as well as on any work with the SCADA system associated with the Gristmill Way or Coles Neck well site, would you be in agreement that that would make sense to do it at that time?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that in addition, if there's any of this work, if we're talking about close to 50,000 for both the this proposal, the 30,000 here, plus the work that needs to be done at the Gristmill Way site, I would think that we could wrap that all up into this proposal to Mass Works, because it's all requirements that meet DEP guidelines for the secondary water source as well as the primary water source for the system.
Correct. I agree with that. I just want to make sure you had an option in case something didn't go through. and we had to do something with just the Boy Scout camp.
Right.
So now we have plenty of options, but I do agree with you, Jim.
Yeah, okay. So, well, on this, we're going to have to, I think this is something we're going to have to take back to the town administrator in terms of the sourcing the funds for this work. Everything has kind of changed over the last month as to, you know, how we're going to be using, or how we're going to be managing our budget going forward. Kurt or Tom or Katharine, do any of you have any concerns about this?
I have one with the system. A problem that happened a few months ago that you and I are cognizant of is when the pump did not shut off while filling. Will that be one of the alarms in the new system? That was never alarmed. The pump just kept on running, overflowing. Is there any time limit or at least time warning if a pump runs over time?
So that's something I talked to. Yep. Right. What had happened was, it was the, from what I understand, the controller at the tank either overheated or froze, one or the other. Was it froze? It froze.
Froze.
Is that correct?
I don't know. We never.
Hold on. Yeah. So the tank thought it wasn't full, and it was. So that is something I have Butch addressing with this upgrade. Yes, correct. Yep.
Good. Thank you.
So Russ,
Okay.
could you just be a little clearer? I thought Tom's question was pretty good. How will it be addressed?
What you do is you add in temperature controls, and then we add in, hold on. Then you'll be able to also look at the height of the tank from a pressure perspective. So if the pressure continues to go up, it'll override it. It'll override that control.
Plus, can we worry about how long a pump runs?
You can, but that's not usually the way we do it.
There's a leak someplace else.
But if there's a leak somewhere else, we want it to pump because we want to keep water going into the system.
Right, but we should be alerted.
Oh yeah, no, there'll be a tank alarm high level that clicks off in the station itself instead of having to go through SCADA. So it'll be a local thing. It'll be a local thing.
Is running for an hour or two, which is well beyond its normal span, that we should be alerted.
I can look into that. I can absolutely look into that. I've never done that before because typically, like I said, we'll have a local alarm at the tank, which will override the SCADA and shut everything off. So it'll shut off the pump.
And send out an alarm.
It'll send out an alarm, correct.
I guess, Russ, the question would be who would be addressing the local alarm when it goes off?
When I say local alarm, I mean local as in at the tank. It'll still call us.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
This is Catherine. I have no questions.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's something as I said, we have to take up with Dan, on this. See how we're going to source funds for this.
Yeah, I guess it'd probably to be clean, Jim, I would just make a motion that we approve whether we recommend that Dan go ahead and do these upgrades. Authorize the funding for the upgrades.
Yeah, for this, based on this most recent proposal.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree.
So you need a second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Can you see my hand up?
No.
Yeah, there is a little thing for raising your hand someplace, but anyway.
Yeah, come on now.
Okay.
Well, let me put it a different way. Are there any, say nay, any nays? Okay, so it's unanimous.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
There's Kurt.
Under reactions, you just put up a little, there's a little under reactions, you can do whatever you want.
You can. So, Rob, can you tell us anything about the meter situation?
Sure. I can tell you that I'm not happy about it, if you want to know my opinion. I did have it out with Mueller. We're not friends anymore at this point because I was upset at the fact that they decided all of a sudden to stop making the hot rod system. They stopped supporting it. And they said, there's nothing they're going to do about it. And I said, well, I said, in my opinion, you guys, sold this system to the town. I go, you're deciding not to support it any longer. And now you leave the town in a very tough position because as things age and we need to replace them, what are your recommendations that we do? And his answer to me was, well, you got to put a new system in. I said, okay. I said, well, I hate to tell you this, but the town of Wellfleet in the water system are unlimited funds. There was no way anyone would think you'd have to put a brand new reading system in this early in the life of the water system. And I think you guys did it just justice by doing what you're doing. I don't think you cared what I said, but I said it anyways.
Is there any way to contact like the Better Business Bureau with that, or no, because it was in a contract?
It's in a contract and it's too old. It is.
Okay.
I mean, it's not old in my sense, but
Right.
if for something like that, they would say no. It's got to be 10 years, right? How old is it?
No, I don't even think it's 10 years old yet. Maybe just.
I think it was
It's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
2011.
Okay. But like I said, that's where I'm saying, someone came down, pitched this thing to everybody, told everybody this is a great system, and now suddenly, less than 10 years later or less, you're telling us that we need a reading system. I go, if you came in and told me you needed to replace the water meters, I understand that because most water meters you try to replace between 10 and 15 years. But to actually replace every unit and all the reading system, and now they got us over a barrel because we're having trouble reading the meters. So he sent me a proposal to replace all the meters, and I told him not to call me anymore. I would call him because I think what they're doing is trying to sell you a new system. And I don't. If I bought a new system for you guys, it wouldn't be this one anyways. How's that?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're kind of in a bind here. And I'm trying to look for grants and stuff for water meters because I think that's the route we would go if we had to do this. And I think we kind of muscle through it right now. And I don't know the situation on the readings. I know I'm a little behind, but are they not reading at all, or are they just having trouble with some?
They're just having trouble with some. Like a lot of them, they're going to have to be done hand in May or
Manually?
in June.
Yep.
Manually, yeah. He'll have to get out of the truck and do it because the hot rod system isn't picking up all of the meters like it should.
Now, when you say get out of the truck and do it, what do you mean?
He'll
They
have
gotta
to
get
go in
closer
like
to the
and
house?
manually read it. Yeah.
Oh, in the house. Okay.
Yep.
No.
Good.
May I butt in? It's
Yeah.
like, we have this thing now, we have this metering system in, and it's a remote read, we can read out of the truck. But we have two issues. They're not going to support the system anymore.
Correct.
And we're also having failures.
Yes, but we
Yeah.
do have some new, there are some new radios in stock. So in this next round, as we find ones that aren't reading, we'll replace the ones that we have in stock.
So it's a transmitting device that we're dealing with.
It's either that or the program. But they're not
Right.
supporting the program anymore either. So that's what we asked first, because before I start replacing MTUs, I'd rather replace, reload the program or update the program or whatever, but they're not supporting that either. So
If we find a town that has these meters and they're going to bite the bullet and put in a new system and we buy up all their old equipment.
you can try. I don't know many towns that have it, but you can try.
Oh, so we got a one-off also.
So, and he told me, we'll support it till the stock runs out. And I go,
Meaning,
uh,
until we
the
don't
guy-
have any more new meters, you mean?
correct, until they run out of stock. No, they have some stock left.
But I didn't think we weren't purchasing through them.
You weren't purchasing the meters, but we have to purchase the reader unit.
Okay.
It's called an MTU. It's a and that you have to buy from them.
Okay.
So there's
So-
another company, Russell, that you could get a new system from. It doesn't have to go through Mueller.
No.
Okay.
No. You have at least 4 other companies that we can talk to.
And this is just from my own curiosity. And is the reading of the meters easier than this one is? Because this one you have to like go into 2 different programs to get the reads and then put it on a file to be able to send it to Penachuk. It took months
So-
for that to happen last time. So I just didn't know if there was an easier way to do it.
So if we went to Ty Sales and we went to Neptune Meter System, that's what they have at Penachuk. So
Okay.
if the town is happy with Penachuk and is really thinking about keeping Penachuk for the next 5 or 10 years, doing the billing, then this is the route I would go, because they're all Neptune.
Yeah, and we even have some Neptune meters in Wellfleet.
Correct.
I think
And,
over at the DPW, if I'm correct.
yeah, some of the first ones we put in the bigger Neptune. We put in the larger meters of Neptune, I believe.
Okay.
And on top of that, Eastham has the same reading system. So,
So it's easier.
so you guys won't have to buy some of the stuff, because we'll just use Eastham's radios and Eastham's reading to do your readings. We already talked about it with Penachuk. So-
But let me understand this, Russ. So we would still have to change out all the equipment, correct? The meters, the
Correct.
reader?
That is
Okay.
correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
And do you
Um,
think that Neptune would, this is going to sound crazy, but like understand where we're coming from and maybe cut a deal or negotiate a price, or it's one set price, you can't really negotiate?
We got you Hudson, the town of Hudson, New Hampshire,
Yep.
who we work with.
Mhm.
And obviously, we work with Eastham. We got you their pricing. Okay. So this is probably the best deal you can get out there with Neptune, because between Penachuk, your ties with Penachuk, your ties with us, Hudson Water Utility, and Eastham, we got Wellfleet their pricing, which is based on large quantities, but you don't have large quantities, which is fine.
Right.
But that's what it's based on.
Russell, just as an unrelated question, I mean, are we kind of in a rare, channel here with these meters? In other words, what are other systems? I mean, is this common for people to be using, the Neptune meters and the Penachuk type reading system, or are we, is that an unusual setup?
You mean the one you have now? Oh,
No.
I know what you're saying. Oh, using no, yes and no. If you fire Penachuk, then we'd have to do something else. You know what I mean? But what it saves you is some of the bulk equipment that you would need. You know what I mean? And some of that stuff can be in the $10,000 range. Some of the reading systems and all that stuff. So to get the reading system, you'd have to purchase it yourself. If you keep Penachuk as your billing company, Penachuk uses their software. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand if what we're using is commonplace or is unusual. Are we sort of like within some set of norms here in terms of what other water systems are using, or are we kind of like an outlier?
So I think I'm misunderstanding your question, but you're asking me if by like sharing the program.
Like, does
No.
Eastham using Penachuk and the Neptune meters?
Yes.
Is Truro, is surrounding towns that are on water, are they using similar things? I think is what Kurt's
Chatham,
asking.
Barnstable, some bigger
Right.
systems,
I-
Provincetown.
Yes, I know that Chatham might be using Neptune. I believe Orleans is, and
I believe Chatham is.
and I believe Hyannis is. The Hyannis water system, maybe not Calm Water, but the Hyannis water system. So when we ran the Hyannis water system, we were using Penachuk, so they had Neptune. They're definitely Neptune. So
Okay.
not that it's the norm. It's Penachuk has all the software to read with. So what it does is by using them as your billing system is you don't have to buy the software, which we all know software can be very expensive. Okay. And for a town with 300 units, it's a big cost. And that's why we went to Penachuk and asked them to do the billing for you guys, because the cost of you doing it on your own, it just outweighs itself. You know what I mean? So with us running Eastham right now and Penachuk doing the Eastham billing, it's an easier thing for them to get it all done. You know what I mean? And I don't see Eastham changing soon either. They kind of like the way it is now, not doing it in house. So you don't lose that tie with
Synergy.
everybody.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think Penachuk does the billing at, in Orleans, but they do use the Neptune system. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
everybody around you uses
So
it.
if we migrate to Neptune, we would be migrating to something that is an industry standard.
There's 3 of them out there now that I would say are industry standard, okay? But to me, I like Neptune, but we will absolutely get you 3 prices because that's the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Show the town that we got 3 prices, all right?
Yeah.
And now we're there, we can look at it. But
Yeah, we have to for procurement requirements anyway,
Yep.
but
yeah, but there's a census system out there, which is okay. I like it. Some days I like it, some days I don't. So census system works okay. Then Mueller actually has their own system, but I'm mad at them right now. So
Yeah, I was gonna say no thanks.
no, we'll get a price from them because I know it's going to be more than this one, but we will get a price from them because that's the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying Mueller's is a pretty nice system, but when you treat people like this, that kind of makes me not want to do business with them.
Well, and then
How
again,
long-
if they switched it the first time, how do we know they're not gonna switch it 9 or 10 years down the road again?
Because the system they have now is up to it's a robust new type of system, so
Okay.
they won't. Yeah, they won't.
the
Um,
other thought, Russell, is would they, I know you're not happy with them right now, but it would certainly make the town feel a lot better if they'd at least provide some kind of a substantial credit toward upgrading.
I brought that to their attention. I'm not saying I won't talk to them. I'm just not talking to them. So if you knew me, I do this every once in a while. If someone makes me mad, I don't talk to them for a while. But I'll mend the fence a little bit so that we can make sure we get the best price for you guys. But what they did also, the kid that was talking to me, he just started this job, and it took me 3 weeks to get answers out of him. So I called his boss and I said, I just want to remind you that, I don't want to talk to somebody that can't give me answers. I know he's new and I'll work with him, but don't send me someone that I know more about the meters than he does. And the guy was like, oh, I understand, Russ. And I go, just, I want answers. I don't want to wait 3 or 4 weeks for the answer. So he seems like a very nice kid, but like I said, I didn't like, the answers weren't coming fast enough.
So, Russ,
How long the system been in Eastham, the Neptune system? How old is that system?
Brand new. Just went in with the town. It just went in with the new system. So
No,
4
new to
years.
them. How new is it to Neptune?
Oh no, this is their bread and butter. They've had it for a long time.
Yeah, we heard that with the other people.
But this is the R900. This R900 has been along for a long time, but it also can be, you can take the R900, you can upgrade it to a a system that collects everything and sends it right to an office. So you can go to a network system straight from this R900. So as things have changed and meter readings become more and more technological, Neptune has taken their primary product, which is the R900, and built on top of it. So you can start with the basic R900 system, and then eventually you can build it all the way up to a more robust kind of central network system, which is something Wellfleet doesn't need at this point, but you do build right from this R900 up to that. So they have done these upgrades using their base model. So that's
Good.
why I know they're not going anywhere.
Thank you.
a question, Russ. In terms of, you mentioned the pricing for on this, that you were able to get the same pricing as Eastham as well as the town in New Hampshire.
Yeah, the larger water systems, yeah.
Yeah, so what are we looking at here for overall cost if we were to switch over? Do you have a rough estimate of what we're talking about?
Yeah, it's a lot of money, Jim. It's $70,000 just some materials,
Okay.
just the materials alone.
What, I mean, for the
Um,
number of, and that would include meters and everything? And the
That's 300. That's 300 meters, 300 Neptune RF interphasers,
Yeah,
the washers, and all the wire and everything that goes with it. What
Plus
it
the-
doesn't include is, go ahead.
right, okay.
It does include the reader, but we have those, so we're not. Right now, we're going to let you piggyback off somebody until, you know what I mean. If you go through with this, you don't want to have to spend $8,000 on readers.
Right.
You know what I'm
So
saying?
that would mean, plus we're talking well over 100,000 with labor and everything.
Yeah, because the labor itself is, we probably average 8 meters a day.
Yeah,
So the labor alone is and then you're going to pay prevailing wage. So it's,
right.
that's
What
why
I-
I've been looking for grants. That's what I've been poking around looking for grants.
What I'd like to do is take a look in the files in Rebecca's office. We do have the contract, the original contract that we had with Mueller on this. And so I'd like to know what the time frame is on this. They have not given us formal written notice that they're not going to support it anymore. I don't believe they have. Have they?
I haven't
I have an
received
email,
anything.
but no, I have an email, but I do not have any written notice. No.
And I think we may need to just ask legal counsel to take a look at that, because by my read on this, it was, I think that it's an annual contract. So if from the point, and I think that renewed in January. So we should.
So it says, yeah, so it says right here, I'll send you this email, Jim, because there's nothing in here I can't send you. How's that? I got corporate stuff. I always got to look. But it says eventually hot rods will be unavailable for replacement. And at this time, the only option for replacement would be the M node migratable with appropriate hardware upgrade. So again, it's almost like they want to sell you their MI node. You know what I mean?
And that the date of that was when?
That was February 7th.
Yeah, so I would assume that we have at least until the end of this calendar year.
Mhm.
Let me ask this kind of a different way, though. If Russ, would it make any sense to, instead of wholesale changing all the meters, would we be able to change out failed meters or do a phased change out program, and still be able to, not impact our reading capability?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because I brought it up to Tara at Penachuk, and I don't believe it's going to be an issue, but she was going to check into it. So that's the thought that Tara and I had, was replace 50 of them. The 50 ones that are broken or whatever's broken. We would have to read 2 different systems, but I don't think it'll make you know what I mean? I don't think it'll make it a big project. How's that?
Because maybe
I'm
that
just
would
waiting.
maybe that might be a more sensible way to go about it.
We were actually going to talk about that when they came down, but then the whole virus thing hit, so they didn't come.
So you're talking about doing this in like a phased approach as
Correct.
as the units fail, that we replace them and.
Or set aside money to replace 20 or 30 a year.
Yeah.
Get it done over the next 3 to 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Penachuk has the ability to read either meters, is that true?
They do right now, but it's like
It's a
Rebecca
lot
was
easier
saying,
for them to
Yeah.
read the Neptune meters than it is the meters that we
Correct.
have. It's
There's a
like
lot
a
of-
10-step
lot to go.
process for our meters right now.
Yeah,
So
it's a
they-
big process.
Meters without it being a big disruption in our billing system.
No.
No, it would actually be easier.
Good. I like it, Kurt.
So the other thing we could talk about too, and I'll clear it through my bosses.
No,
If you
I'm still on.
guys, if you guys want to do 15 or 20 a year, we could
It's very
give you a
wordy.
price and roll it
What's that?
into our monthly fee.
Oh, I think that's it, you know, the glass, but it's a,
What happened?
Right? Are we good?
Yep, go ahead.
So what I'm thinking is instead of you guys, buying all this stuff and you guys having to pay it all at once, we can run it over 12 months and just put it into our monthly fee so that you can get 50 done a year or something like that and just pay it monthly instead of trying to come up with 30 or 10, $15,000. You know what I'm saying? So just a thought of a town.
It does sound like some kind of phasing makes sense. I'm not sure what that looks like. We got 300 meters. So what do we want to do that over 4 years, 5 years, or just pick some?
Yeah. So what I'll do is let me get some more definitive pricing. So let me reprice the meters through Neptune. I'll put together a worksheet on my end for the labor part of it. Then we can get a complete cost per unit for install and purchase. And then we can come back and say, okay, if it's 140,000 to do it all, then we divide that by 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying? And then that's how we can figure it out. But I will definitely put that together.
Okay.
And if you can, I just have a quick question. If you can find a grant or get a grant, could we do that too? Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm still looking for grants, and I
Awesome.
actually have EPG checking for grants for us too.
Okay,
So
cool.
all of us, they have a grant department up there. So at EPG, so if I'm looking for a grant, I sometimes ask those guys to help me look for one, and they help.
That's
They
awesome.
don't mind at all. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Anything more on this?
Maybe if we can blame the meter failures on the coronavirus, we can get a federal grant.
There you go. I'll write it. I don't care. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna do, arrest me?
Paper never rejects the ink.
All right. So the only other thing I wanted to ask you guys about, I was on earlier and I jumped off for a second. You said something about a meter had some sand in it or something.
No,
Oh,
the
no.
water.
Yeah, I got a call from someone on the system today asking if we're doing any work on the system because she had experienced some kind of like very fine sand in the water over the last
What was
few
the
days.
address?
It's on Baker Avenue. I don't know so I did talk to Mike Nee about this. He's going to check it out tomorrow. I think it may be that he said that that it was going to have to be. He was talking about doing flushing anyways in the system, so it may just be that there's sediment, in the system.
Yeah.
around.
That would surprise me because Baker Ave has got to be a lot of flow there. So I was what made me kind of get nervous was, were any of you around when we had the sand problem over at Coles Neck?
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, but Baker Ave, that's something different. Okay.
I wonder if they just came down and opened the cottage and it's stuff that's laying in their line.
These are year-rounders.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to Mike tomorrow about it. It may be just a flushing thing. We can flush off the mains a little bit.
And you know what? I would get him the actual address of that property as well. So.
Yeah, I might have him go by and pull the meter out. Well, I don't know if I'll do that now with the virus thing going on, but I'll look at it and I'll crack a couple fires.
I wouldn't do it there anyways, as I told him that there's a confirmed positive coronavirus patient there. So
okay.
So somebody's quarantined there right now, anyways.
All right, I'll have him over the hydrants at each end of that street and see what comes out. We'll go from there. All right.
All right. Anything more for Russ?
No.
Thanks, Russ.
No problem, guys. Anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay. So we have a couple of other things on here. Obviously, we didn't have anybody from the recycling committee with us.
No, they
So-
just have an article on the warrant to get rid of all plastic bottles and just use reusable bottles.
Right.
I think from what I understand, that's what they're going to talk to you about. But I don't even know if now the warrant's not completed, and it probably won't be completed for a while because they have a mid-June date tentative for the meeting. So, I mean, they may ask to come at a later date. But I know they have a warrant on the article, an article in the warrant to have plastic bottles banned.
Right. So I would say we'll just table this until they can participate and we know more about what's happening with the meeting. Service fee for customers. We put this on there because we had a request from at least one customer who has paid for the water but has not hooked up to the system, and they have been paying that and the fee twice a year for the what would we call it?
It's the biannual service fee.
Service fee or administration, whatever. And you know, the question came out that they're really not getting any services from us because they're not getting water. So the question is, why are we charging that fee to people who are not hooked up to the system yet?
Did I lose you?
Nope, we got you.
All of a sudden it got quiet there.
We were just waiting for you, Tom.
Oh, well.
So question.
Well, how many people? Yeah, how many people would this be in the whole system?
Hold on, I can do that for you. Give me 1 second.
I think you did it last meeting. Was it about 89 people, something like that?
Well, because I've been working from home, I've been doing so many fun little projects for the water.
Yeah, like sitting by the beach, water.
Yep. Let's see.
You look good, Jim. I see you looking at the camera there.
Yeah, I was looking at the lamp. I just turned the lamp on here.
Yeah, I thought we did do a calculation last time, but
We did.
had those
I think it's
numbers.
57, if I am correct. But I'll
And what's
double
the-
check it
Okay,
and
so
I'll let you know.
and what's the
That's
what's
a
the
fair amount of income we'd lose then, right?
So it's 57
$89.
Yeah, it's $86.98 twice a year.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a fair amount of money to lose. I mean, when the system is running, you know, out of money anyway, you know, it might seem like a good idea, but I don't know that we can afford to do that.
Well, I mean, no one else has approached us about that. So, and I believe that particular household has now proceeded toward actually installing the service in the house. Am I correct, Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Oh, so we don't have to worry about it then.
right, but it's just going forward, whether or not that's a deterrent for anybody signing up, you know, for water if they don't hook up immediately.
well, we put the stub in, say we run down Briar Lane. We'll put the taps in anyway. So that's not going to be any cost to them.
No, it's
And
not.
if their only advantage is they can pay for it, and if they don't like it, hook up to the water. But, or don't sign up. But our taps will be in there whether they put their name on a list or not.
I think that originally the idea behind this was in order to kind of keep their place in the system and not have to pay the full price of.
Oh, okay, yeah.
that if they did this back when we initially started the system, there was a 50% reduction. And then, but we have not increased it beyond the 40% reduction since for several years now. So
Well, that's the package they bought. They have the ability to hook up at any time, is that correct?
yes,
Okay.
I mean, the fee is an incentive to hook up because you're paying it anyway, so you might as well get water.
And I've had a couple actually do that because they're like, well, if I'm paying the fee, I might as well be on town water. And I agreed with them.
And if we waived it, if we were going to think about waiving it, I mean, it's 10,000, it's like $9,900, so about $10,000 that we'd lose.
annually.
Yeah, annually.
And as she just said, it could be an incentive to just hook up and start buying water.
And I
Right.
can tell you now, most of the people that are coming and asking for town water are not just asking to be connected and not use it. Most of them are starting to use it. Like I said to Jim earlier before the meeting started, East Commercial Street, there was a resident, their pump broke in their well and they needed town water almost immediately. So they'll have town water by Friday.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, let's just let this go for a while then, huh?
We don't.
I
have to
agree.
do
We only had one complaint, and
And,
you know.
and, I mean, this would be something we will be looking at anyway as we, address, the whole fee issue.
Right.
So we can come back to this at that time.
Okay, well, it's good to know.
The other item that's on here was the Lawrence Road electric bill. And Rebecca, do you have any?
I asked Mike what could be there that's causing such a high bill, and because I said that you guys thought that maybe someone was plugging into it, and he went and checked it out, and he said there is a space heater that runs a lot, especially during the winter, so that would make the winter bills higher because none of the pipes can freeze. So I think he said there's either one or two at that site, and he thinks that that's generating quite a bit of electricity. So I'll see if the bill goes down for like May through August or September. But he said they run pretty regularly just to make sure that room stays fairly warm on a regular basis.
Yeah, electric heat is expensive.
Right. And they're space heaters, so.
Yeah. No, that would be a very reasonable explanation.
It would. Why don't they have heat tape on the pipes or something like that? We don't need to heat the whole room to keep a pipe from freezing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that we could do that. Maybe we could have, we could talk to Russ or Mike Nee about that to see if that's something that they could do. We'd probably save the amount that it cost us to install that.
Oh, yeah.
The
I would
tank
imagine that it
a
would.
month or-
Yeah, easily. Whether they're heat traced or
You're
even
done.
if we
Insulate them.
change it out and put a heat pump in there instead of baseboard resistance heat.
Yeah.
But
Some other solution.
yeah, there's got to be a better solution.
Right.
It's about the easiest way to waste money that there is.
Right.
And-
Set up your arm.
And in all likelihood, there's no insulation in that structure at all.
I think that's why it's so high, is because it takes so much to heat it because there is no insulation.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that'll be something that's on the to-do list, is to talk with them about alternatives to space heaters.
That works.
The only other thing that we have here is, well, there are two things. One is the minutes of the meeting of February 18th.
There you go.
And
Show off.
Hey, I've had a lot of time to figure stuff out.
Wait, with all those kids around the house, are you
I know,
putting them
right? That's what you heard earlier. I had to go into a private room and close the door and lock them out.
And go to the beach.
I'm at the beach, thank God.
Yeah. So, did you get a chance to read the minutes?
Yeah, I just had,
Yeah.
I just had one question on the
Right.
minutes.
Go ahead.
And don't we normally have the full motion in the minutes, or shouldn't we have the full motion for any motions?
You should. Did I not put it in there?
It looked to me like it was shorthand, and I just wanted to ask the question just so it got asked.
So this was the motion on the budget you're talking about?
No, it must have been the contingency fund one, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll go back and re-listen to it, Kurt, and if it's not word for word, I'll write it again word for word.
okay.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna just mark that for myself so that I know, and I'll fix it tomorrow morning.
Okay. Good. So then, we'll hold off on.
Okay. Yep, and then your next meeting, I'll have them on there as well.
All right. And so the next meeting, the date for the next meeting? I don't know what day that.
You okay, Kurt?
That's me barking, sorry.
You're not being attacked.
Let's see. So you could probably do the 14th if you wanted to.
Anybody else have that?
That's April 14th. That's 2 weeks. And that I don't think that coincides with a select board meeting, so you should be good. And now the select board meetings are usually during the day just because everyone's at home anyway, so.
Well, let's see what we have. What's on the agenda? Any thoughts on what we should put on the agenda for the next meeting?
Well, I'll re-invite the recycling committee if they want to come on. And then maybe for Russ will be able to give a better estimate on the Neptune meters, just to kind of give us an idea. And
That's a good idea. And
Yeah.
good idea to keep him kind of focused on it as well.
yeah, and I think this is an easier medium for him to meet with us, just because he doesn't have to drive all the way down here. So we could ask him to be on as well.
Okay. So that's fine. So
Okay.
14th works for me.
Okay.
Good for me.
Yep, it's fine with me.
Do you want to do same time, 6 o'clock?
That's fine.
Okay. And then I'll just send you tomorrow. I'll make up a quick agenda for you. Jim, send it to you, and then you can let me know if you want me to add or delete anything, and then we'll get it posted. And I'll email Russ as well to see if he can, if he's able to get us a estimate from Neptune and any of the other answers that answers to the questions that you guys asked tonight.
Good. And as far as the SCADA system, you know, I'll see if I can get any input from Dan as to the, you know, how the source of funding for that.
Huh.
Well, he's at home too, so.
Yeah. Are you in the office at all this week?
I can be, yep. Just it's very limited because they don't want us really there at all, especially now that there's a confirmed case in Wellfleet. If you, what's today, Tuesday? If you're not doing anything Thursday, I can be there Thursday in the morning if you want to meet, so you can look at that contract.
I know, well, there were files in there, and
Yep. I think it's the top drawer actually in the filing cabinet, if I remember correctly.
there's a file that had Mueller in
Yep.
it,
Mhm.
and there was a contract in there.
Yes. Yep. I've seen it.
We may scan that and send it over to, you know, our legal counsel to have
Okay.
a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can scan that. No problem.
The other agenda item, and I will follow up on this, was that Helen Miranda Wilson wanted to come in and talk with us about the conservation efforts.
Yep. I think she was listed. She was supposed to be on an April 5th meeting, but if we're going to move it to the 14th, I'm sure she'd rather that anyway, just to see where she's at. But I'll email her, and if you want, I can ask her if that works for her as well.
Yeah, okay, great.
What was their topic?
The conservation, you guys were only going to give her from 6 to 6:15.
Remember,
Is
we
it-
talked,
That's
Well,
right.
Serving water?
I'm not sure what it was about water, though.
what?
Just conservation.
Conservation of water.
Yep.
I mean, her concerns about not overtaxing the aquifer.
Oh, help, please,
I'm also
not
on the-
again.
You know, I'm also on the Natural Resources Advisory Board,
Yeah,
and one of the problems we've had this summer, the problem, I don't know, is that the water table is so high that the ponds are up in the bushes now. There's no beaches, no way to walk.
Right, right.
I mean, look at it. It's high
Okay,
tide
you-
behind me.
Yeah, I know, it shows it's right there.
Okay, Tom, you're in charge of dealing with Helen Miranda then. You can speak from your own expertise. That's wonderful.
We got sea level rise on Duck Pond.
all right. Anything else, folks?
No, good.
If not, then
Okay,
we stand adjourned.
All right.
okie doke.
Good night,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Have
Yeah,
fun.
you too. Thanks. Mhm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.